I've been using the Nik Collection since 2008, and over that time it's become an essential part of how I edit most of my images. But with the new release of the Nik Collection 9, something has changed. It's opened up new creative possibilities and it's become easier to use. But in this video, I don't just want to do the usual software feature review. I want to share some practical editing ideas while using what I think are the best new features. So let's jump straight in with the first example, which is one of my favourites. Here's the first example image open in colour effects. My plan is to enhance the mist in the scene using the Nik fog filter. Now the fog filter has been around for many years, and it's found on the left side of the screen in the filters section. After adding the filter, you can immediately see the problem. It isn't very convincing because it covers the entire image at the same opacity. There's just no concept of distance from the camera, so it doesn't appear natural. This is where the new AI depth map comes in. You'll find the depth map grouped with the other local adjustments. The old row of icons for the different local adjustment controls has gone now, and it's been replaced by a drop-down menu. I guess this is partly because the developers ran out of space to add yet more local adjustment tools. To apply it, click the depth map option in the list and then click the image. The software then determines how far each object in the scene is from the camera. From this it then generates a depth mask, and it uses this to create a selection of the objects at similar distances to where I clicked. The result is a much more natural rendering of the fog added by the filter. I can also move the position of the depth mask to select other areas. On the depth mask itself, we have an opacity slider that controls the mask's opacity. If we look at the before and after, we can see that the new mask has added the fog to more distant areas of the image and that it appears totally natural. Now, supposing we want the fog to extend so it's closer to the camera. We can control this using the slider in the mask. Here you'll see the slider scales to control what's being selected. On the left we see an icon of a flower telling us that this is the closest point to the camera. Then on the right we have an icon of a mountain telling us that that's the furthest area from the camera. The area you see selected is indicated by the two sliders at the top of the depth control based on the points that I sampled in the image. Now, the two sliders at the bottom are then used to feather the adjustment, helping it to blend into the image. If I drag the bottom slider to the left, you'll see that it increases the fog in the foreground. Now, I've only done limited testing so far on this new tool, but I'm really impressed by what I've seen. If you're a landscape photographer like I am, I'm sure you'll find this absolutely invaluable for adding realistic effects to your images. I'm also sure that many other photographers are going to find a lot of uses for it. Now, before we leave this example, let's just add one more local adjustment using one of the oldest controls, which is the control point. I want to use this to show you the new local adjustments layout. I'll click the Add button first, which shows a list of selection tools. I can then click the control point option before clicking on the image where I want to add the control point. Now notice that as I'm doing this, a red mask appears, helping us see what the selection area is. We'll look at ways to change this mask shortly, but first I want you to notice that the layout of the local adjustments list has changed. It's been simplified quite considerably, and some of the icons, like the option to display the sample point, have now moved. What we now see is that this appears on the control point itself in the local adjustments list. Clicking the icon then displays the sample point, which we can then drag with our mouse pointer to position it on the image just as we could before. Overall, this layout of the local adjustments feels much cleaner and easier to use. Let's leave this example there and move on to a different image because I want to show you the new AI selection tools. For this next example, I have a photo of a kudu antelope and I want to adjust the animal's contrast without affecting the background. Let's add the Pro Contrast filter to this image, which has some useful contrast adjustment tools. If I adjust the dynamic contrast and use the correct contrast slider, you can see that it's affecting everything in the scene. Let's reset those sliders now, and instead I'll click the local adjustments option. Here I can choose the Select Object AI option. Now as I move my mouse pointer over the image, the Nik Collection analyses it to find objects or areas that I might want to select. These objects are then highlighted with a red mask. When we see the kudu highlighted with the mask, we can then click to select it. Now if you find that you don't like the red mask, you can change it to black and white. And there's also an option to show no mask at all if you need to hide it. I find that the black and white option makes it very easy to see what is and isn't being selected. For example, we can see here that we now have a very good selection of the kudu, so we can apply the contrast adjustment to it. Having adjusted the contrast, the animal stands out much more clearly against the background. Being able to produce accurate selections so easily makes the Nik Collection 9 feel so easy to work with. But the Object Selection tool isn't the only way of creating an accurate selection with AI in the new Nik Collection. Let's look at another example now, again using Nik Color Effects. Let's say that we want to change the colour of this door in the image, but at the same time we don't want to affect the pavement, which is actually a very similar colour. Now, a good tool for adjusting colours in Color Effects is the HSL filter. If I add this to the image, you can see that it has different predefined colour ranges that we can select by clicking. Alternatively, we can use the Sample tool and then click on a point in the image that we want to sample. When I use this to click the door, we see that the sample colour range appears in the filter. Now I can move the hue slider to adjust that colour and adjust the colour of the door. The only problem is that this affects both the pavement and the door. Now, I could use the Object Selection tool that we looked at earlier in the previous example to select the door. This would work, but it would probably select only small parts of the door at a time, maybe not the entire door frame. A better option though is to use the new Area Selection tool. To do that, I first select it in the Local Adjustments section as I did with the other example. I can then click and drag a rectangular area around the object I want to select. When I release my mouse button, the software analyses the image and identifies the objects inside the selected area. It then creates a mask to select what's being found. As with the other tools I've been discussing, I've found this extremely accurate and reliable so far. The result is that we now see the door is adjusted, but we haven't affected the path in front of it. What's great about this adjustment, in my opinion, is that I've been able to select both the entire door and the frame around it. It's so easy to use, and it means my colour changes don't affect the blues of the pavement or the walls. And just look at how natural the adjustment appears. You would never have guessed that this door was originally blue. And of course, in addition to adjusting the colour settings using the HSL filter, we can also adjust the mask opacity to control how strongly the effect is applied. We've now talked about several of the new features, but we've concentrated on local adjustments. In this next example, I want to look at the new Halation filter in Nik Color Effects. Halation is a great effect that can be used in all kinds of ways. I'm starting this example using an image I shot with an infrared camera of a gates to an old deserted mansion. One feature of the old infrared films like Kodak HIE is that the anti-halation layer was often missing from the film. This usually gave bright areas of the image an amazing glowing effect. To recreate this, I'll use the Halation filter. By default, the filter also adds colorization. Although it's not intended for this purpose, I find the colour useful for identifying what's being affected. I'll turn that off though for the moment, and I'll show it in a separate example. You'll now notice that the bright areas of the image are glowing and softening. We can then control this effect by using the intensity, spread and sensitivity sliders. There are also advanced adjustments we can use to control the level of blur and glow for the effect. And of course, we can use the local adjustments to control where the effect is and isn't visible in the image. Let's look at another example now where we might want to use the colorization effect. This time I have a photo of Dubai that I took one evening from my hotel room. The Halation filter is a great way to add more drama and mood to this image. It's great for images taken at night like this one, where there's often a lot of lighting. When I add the filter, we see the glow created around the bright highlights. And because I have the colorization enabled, this glow appears pink. Let's change that though to something more in keeping with the image. All that I need to do is move the hue slider until I achieve the color I want. I can then adjust the spread, intensity and sensitivity to achieve a good look. And of course, we can refine this even further using local adjustments. Let's add a control line and use it to select the building and the sky in the image, but not the road. This limits the effect to the top part of the image. Then, to help us blend this together, we can increase the filter's opacity to add the effect back into the road. For this next example, let's switch from using Nik Color Effects to Nik Analog Effects, where we have a couple of new filters as well. The first of these is the chromatic shift filter, which has become quite popular in recent years. It takes its inspiration from a problem that occurs sometimes in CMYK printing, where one colour will shift so it doesn't align with the others. You'll find this in the filter set on the left of the screen. Notice how this creates a second version of the image but slightly shifted to one side so that we see a mix of colours. In the channel section of the filter, you can see that we can choose between different types of colour shift that we want to use. If I move my mouse over the different options in the drop-down, you can see the effects they have on the image as a preview. I also want to mention at this stage that the previewing of filters is something that's been extended throughout the Nik Collection 9. It's now possible to preview many of the filters on the main image before even adding them. Having chosen our filter effect now, we can then adjust it using the sliders. The offset controls how far the duplicate colour moves from the original. We then have a zoom control to enlarge the duplicate image, and we can also control the angle of this. In addition to using the sliders though, there's a control that appears on the image itself. We can use this with our mouse to move it around and adjust the filters effect. This is just like using the slider controls, and in fact they are moving as we move the control here. The saturation control is also quite interesting. This controls the level of saturation of the underlying image without affecting the chromatic shift. It can produce quite striking effects with many images, and if you want to control how strong the chromatic shift is, just use the opacity slider at the bottom of the filter. Like the other filters that we've been looking at, we can also use the selection tools with this filter. For example, I can use the area selection tool to select the middle person in this mural. Now let's look at one of the other new filters that's been added to the Analog Effects plugin. The new glass effect filter makes the image look like it's being viewed through a sheet of textured glass. You'll find it over on the left of the interface along with the other filters. When we add it to this image, we see the control box in the centre. If we click and drag the corners, we can change the size of the effect along with its position. Then, over in the Filters panel, we can see the different controls we can use in order to refine the effect further. OK, now let's look at something else. For this next example, we're taking a look at another new filter that's been added to Color Effects. This is the colour grading filter that you'll find on the left of the interface. If I expand the filter view, you can see the thumbnails for some of the presets here. As I mentioned earlier, one of the new features is that the preview now updates as we move our mouse pointer over these thumbnails. This makes it extremely easy to find the filter that you want to use. Now, there are some interesting effects here that can give you good ideas about processing the image. But rather than starting with one of these, I'll start with the neutral preset, which has no effect on the image. We can now see the colour grading filter and its adjustments over on the right of the interface. The options we have here are, we can choose to apply a colour grading to the entire image, or we can choose to adjust the shadows, midtones and highlights with a colour grade. Let's start by selecting the midtones in this image. I'll then apply a red-orange colour grade to that tonal range. Notice how a stick control appears around the outside edge of the wheel. We can use this to change the colour hue. There's also a disc that we can then move in and out on the colour wheel by dragging it with our mouse. When the disc is near to the centre, there's less saturation in the colour grade, but when we move it towards the outer edge of the wheel, the saturation increases. Now, if you want to use more traditional controls, click the option to show the sliders. We can then see the hue, saturation and luminance sliders, which are used to refine our colour grade. Next, let's set the shadow tone in the image. I'll set an indigo colour grade for this, and then I'll adjust the saturation. Then finally, I'll choose the highlights and set that to apply a yellow-green colour grade. Now, you may have noticed that whilst I was doing this, a coloured strip has appeared along the bottom of the filter. If we look at this, we can see that we have indigo on the left, orange in the middle, and green on the right. These are the hue settings that I chose for the shadows, midtones and highlights. What this control allows me to do is set the balance between these three tonal ranges. As I move the slider left, we make the shadow toning stronger, and if I move it to the right, we make the highlight toning stronger. In other words, we're changing the balance of which tonal range is stronger in the colour grade. This is a great way to control the effect. If I toggle the adjustments off and on, you can see that it's having a nice effect on the image. Now, let's combine this with the depth mask we looked at earlier. I'll just click the Add button and then select the depth mask from the list. Then I can click on the area in the background that I want to colour grade. And then once the depth mask has been calculated, I can adjust the selection. I want to apply it to the more distant foliage and then fade it gradually into the foreground. As you can see, there are almost infinite possibilities when we combine the different tools and filters in the Nik Collection. Now let's look at one final feature that I'm really pleased to see has been added. To demonstrate this, I'll first add a fog filter to the image. Then at the top of the filter is a new drop-down containing blending modes. If I click the drop-down, you can see that there are multiple blending modes here to choose from. There are the common ones that you'll probably recognise like multiply, darken, soft light and screen, but there are others that you probably won't recognise. Because of this, you may find that you do need to experiment to find one that works, but with the preview feature, that's really easy to do. Using the blending modes feature is a great way to create all kinds of effects and to blend them into the image. We can use this to easily add a lot more atmosphere and drama into our photography. If I hide the adjustments I've applied to this photo, the original now looks very ordinary and drab in comparison. Of course, you may not like what I've done to this image, but that's not the point. It's about all the creative possibilities that we now have open to us. The Nik Collection offers a varied range of filters, plugins and tools that you're really only limited by your imagination, and with the new selection tools, editing has become far easier. Now let's discuss how much the new Nik Collection costs. If you're a new Nik customer, a license is going to cost you $179.99. In euros it's $169.99 and in sterling it's $149.99. If you're a new DxO customer though, you can get a 15% discount using the code I'll include in the YouTube video description. Now, if you're already a Nik user and you have either the Nik Collection 7 or 8, you do qualify for an upgrade at a lower price, which is $99.99. In euros it's $89.99 and in pound sterling $79.99. Now whether you think that that's good value or not is going to depend on your personal circumstances, but if you are considering the Nik Collection 9, I would encourage you to download the trial and test it out for yourself before making final decisions. It is a great piece of software, but not everyone's going to get on with it. In this video, I've only really scratched the surface of the possibilities with my examples. Now at the start of this video, I said I'd been using the Nik Collection since 2008. But did you know that throughout this time, there's been one filter I've considered essential, and I use it with nearly every image I edit. To find out about that, watch this video next. Thanks for watching today, and I hope you found my examples useful. Don't forget, there are a lot more tutorials and editing ideas on my website, and I hope to see you soon for another video.